I think what is easy in the moment is unfulfilling afterwards.
Mm.
What's hard in the moment is very fulfilling afterwards.
All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Angry Ginger podcast. As always, I got a super special guest on today. This one, though, isn't somebody that I don't get to talk to very much or don't get to see or anything like that, but it is somebody who it's going to be extra awkward because we're face to face. And so this is the first time this has ever happened. But I got to give him compliments where compliments are due. This person that I have on today is somebody that I feel like in life, you probably only have a handful of people that come into your life and make the type of impact that this individual has had on my life. So in 2013, I met him. I walked into his gym, started working out. We had a workout together, and this guy was super jacked. Came in 2 days later and got my
Was
still is super jacked, but was super impressed by it. And then now I'm just less impressed by it. Really, I'm just used to it. So, and then I came in 2 days later, and I worked out at his gym, became a member. Back whenever we were working out at just like a really, I hate to even talk shit on it because it was such a magical place, but just a little shithole of a gym
Yeah.
that we had so much fun in.
it was.
And then, through that we became buddies, training partners, and then I started coaching for him. And then eventually we became business partners, or co-owners of his gym. And then we up and moved across the country and opened up a business together. And now he's a business partner of mine and huge mentor, and has really made a huge impact on my life. So, well, everybody, welcome Kevin Schuetz to the Angry Ginger podcast. Yeah.
Thanks for building me up so much because giving me this headset, I felt pretty lame that, we got a low budget for this show. So I feel like telemarketer Kevin right now, but it takes me back to my,
Were you a telemarketer?
essentially, yes.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
business to business.
I did not know that. Did you wear a
Hello, this
headset?
is Kevin with Aspen Marketing. How may I help you?
Oh my God. Right back to where
I had a headset for sure.
just like
Oh
that.
yeah.
And then I know you were a
Yeah.
gamer for a while, weren't you?
I mean, yeah, this looks like a gamer headset too. Yeah, like this is like the old like Halo, like Xbox Live
We can
for
switch
anybody.
mics if you'd like.
It's too late. We've gone too far. We've gone too far.
We can start over
This
and
is
switch. No, we don't even know. So,
no, it's
man.
cool. I feel taller than you, so that's all that
Well,
matters.
you should feel taller than me. I feel short as shit. And this one's like, yeah, this one I can hide behind the normal Zoom calls, but face to face I can't. So, dude, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
So, a little selfishly, so this is going to be episode 10 when it gets released, and
Casey's birthday. Happy birthday.
well, it won't be released on my birthday.
33?
34.
34?
So,
You're old.
Yeah, next year I'm a master's
Wow.
athlete.
I thought you were
so-
89. Did I just do bad math? I just did bad math.
I am 89.
I just did bad math. That was bad math. All right.
89.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe I'm 34.
Well, I was thinking I was 87. You were 2 years. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm
Yeah,
only a
I
year
should
and
have
a
done
half.
different math.
Yeah, it's only about a year and a half
Yeah.
difference. So
I've written your birthday and social security number many times.
and maybe my signature.
Probably forged your signature more times than I should admit, but yes.
But he had my
yes.
permission. So
12089. Yep.
Dang,
Nailed it.
God,
I'm not gonna
let's not
I'm not gonna rattle off your social though.
the 50 people who might watch this. I don't want them to know my social, but
Yep.
but yeah, thanks for the birthday shout out. But this is episode 10, which my goal, and when I started, I just wanted to do a podcast and get Lalo's story out there, and then we had a lot of positive feedback on it, and I had way too much fun doing it. And so I thought, man, all right, by next year's Break the Stigma, which is in August, I want to have 10 of these podcasts. And now it's January, and this is episode 10. And so since
Way ahead
10
of
was like
pace.
my goal, and 10 was like a big deal for me, I was like, all right, I want Kev to be number 10.
Woo.
And so here we are, and which
All right.
is pretty cool. And as much time as I get to spend with you, and as much as I've heard over the years, like a little bit about your background and your story and where you're from and everything, I still don't know all the details, and obviously we won't get all the details over the next hour. But I think it'll be good. One, for me, selfishly, I tell people I get everything I need out of these conversations by just getting to have the conversations. But hopefully, through our conversation and through some of your stories, people can get some insight from it, and then also maybe some inspiration, or maybe they're going through something and can relate to it. So the overall goal of this podcast is to, one, break the stigma associated with mental health. And then something that's come up every episode, which I think is really cool, is just how you never know what somebody's going through. And so, kind of try to give some grace. But I also think it's a good time to kind of like interject this. I don't really harp on this whenever I bring it up, but there's a difference between like recognizing, people might be going through a hard time and giving them grace. That doesn't mean you have to be like a pushover, or like sometimes things happen where you can, you can still be angry about it or you can be upset about it. And that's okay too. So I don't want people to think like just because I say be nice, that means to be a pushover. There's a big difference. And so I just kind of thought about that some. I was listening back to some of the episodes and I was like, I don't know, something I felt like I wanted to say and stuff like that. So
I kind of justify that in my head of like, you can empathize without agreeing. If that makes
totally.
sense.
Totally. And then the other side of that is a lot of times we don't know that they're going through something.
Yeah.
So it's hard to
Give them the benefit of the
empathize.
doubt.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of
Yeah.
try to give grace, and obviously it depends on the person too, how much grace you can give and how
Yeah.
personal how personal of a relationship you have with that person, how much trust you've instilled in them and all that stuff. So but anyway, so Kevin Schuetz, where are you from originally? Because this question is kind
So
of
it's like a hard
complex.
answer.
Yeah.
So I was born in California. We moved to Georgia when I was 2. Lived just outside of Georgia up until 5th grade. 5th grade, I'm just outside Atlanta. I just said
Okay.
Georgia. Just outside of Atlanta. Uh, up until 5th grade. Then we moved to Chicago suburbs, about an hour west of Chicago. Lived there till I went to school. Went to college, border Illinois and Iowa. It's where I met my lovely wife, Liz. And then moved back to Chicago area for maybe about 3 years, and then was planning on moving to Colorado over a decade ago. And Liz and I had we were like right about to move, and it was like no exaggeration. Like I was about to quit my job a week later. Liz was she tried to quit her job, and then we both got promotions and moved to Oklahoma. Lived in Oklahoma for 7 years, and then been in Colorado for 4. So
Oh man.
kind of all over the place. I don't know where that makes me from, but I grew up kind of in Georgia, a little kind of country boy, and then I had to try to get rid of that when I went to Chicago and get rid of all my y'alls and my
Are you saying
fixing to
fixing
fixing to
fixing to's
I'm
a
fixing to drink a coffee. I'm
oh
fixing
shoot.
to
I didn't even
do a
know.
workout.
I didn't even know that was a country thing. I didn't know that was
That was just
abstract. I thought that was just
oh
normal.
oh yeah, thanks Oklahoma. What are those things? The Crayola? Like
No, it's
we got to start this.
It's crayons, all right.
Crayon. No, I mean like yeah, I remember getting made fun of a little bit in like elementary school because I had such a southern accent, and then I had to talk like a Chicagoan, and then yeah, Chicago.
I was gonna say I
So
don't really hear any accent in you. Like I don't know that I ever have.
I
Really.
feel like that's almost Oklahoma though. It's like
Oh.
Oklahoma has this very distinct accent. It's not quite southern, I feel like.
Oh. Do I
It's
have?
definitely not Midwest.
I've had a few people say
Yours
like
is more
mine,
southern.
and mine comes and goes. Like
Yeah.
it,
Depending on who you're
who
with
I'm
or
with,
what you're
I'm
talking about.
Oh my god, it's so crazy.
Talking about hunting.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah, it's kind of funny. So you moved around a lot, and
Yeah.
why did you move around so much?
This is my parents' jobs.
Gotcha. Not
You know,
military.
no,
Gotcha.
no, they were both in sales. My mom was in like printing business. My dad was in medical sales, and my dad did international when we were in Georgia, and then they told us we had to move back to Illinois. They wanted to move back to Illinois because that's where like most of our extended family's from is the
Oh,
Midwest, is from Illinois and Iowa, so or Illinois and Indiana. So that's why we moved back.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, growing up, you played a lot of sports, just one sport. I mean, you're
I
obviously
played a lot
athletic.
of sports all the way through like middle school, and then high school just baseball.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, what all sports you play growing up other than
I
baseball?
mean, basketball for a long time, swam a little bit,
Yeah.
football a little bit, like soccer,
Did
all
you ever
that.
shoot up like in pads football?
Ever shoot up? No, no,
Shoot
just
up.
like just like buddies, just buddies,
Gotcha.
like flag
Gotcha. But
football
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff like
Okay.
that. No, I my parents like didn't want me to play, and
Yeah.
they like secretly didn't like they like secretly pushed me not to,
Totally. Yeah.
and tried to like Inception,
Yeah.
like tried to
The power of influence, right?
yeah, without directly saying like no, you can't play,
Yeah.
because I would have probably been like no, I want to play, but
Yeah. Yeah. You probably been really good at football, but you were really good at baseball. So, yeah, I don't even know.
debatable. I don't know.
Well, you're
Yeah.
good enough to go play college ball.
Yeah.
So growing up, did you like did you find that you excelled more at baseball, and so that's why you kind of stuck with it, or did you just enjoy baseball more, or is that what you had the most like experience with? Like, why'd you stick with baseball?
I think from like a coach standpoint, I always see this as like people are attracted to what they're good at. Like, and I think
Totally.
baseball was my sport, but I quit basketball after 8th grade, so I never played in high school.
Gotcha.
And I was 4 foot 11, I want to say, in 8th grade. And then like when I got to high school, I was like 5'11" a year later.
Oh
So
my
I probably shouldn't have quit basketball.
God.
Then I was, then I still kept growing, but it was like I grew like a foot in a year. It was right
Yeah.
after I quit basketball. So I was like a point guard.
I can't wait till I
Yeah.
hit that same growth spurt.
Yeah.
That's gonna
Like
be
one day
awesome.
when you grow up and you hit puberty, you're gonna
Holy
be there too.
smokes. Dude, that is crazy. Because I was
Yeah.
definitely I was about the same thing, like 4'11" in 8th grade, and then
Yeah.
was like 5'1" by the end of ninth grade, and then like, yeah, 5'3" by the end. Maybe I was
Yeah.
a little bit taller than that, but I was super short and stayed short.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I also,
I was a little guy for a long
that's
time. Yeah.
crazy. I
Yeah. Yeah.
didn't know that. I had
Yeah.
no idea. I always thought you were kind of like the above
No.
average height.
Nope.
Um, Man, I was just wrong.
Yep.
You it's mentioned you say like people kind of gravitate towards what they're good at. I definitely so I played baseball, basketball, football, baseball, basketball, and football pretty competitively growing up. Say like probably baseball was probably my best sport. Basketball, like I probably was able to display the most like athleticism. And football was probably my worst sport.
Yeah.
But
That's what
I
you
had the
gravitated.
most fun playing
Yeah.
football. Just like I don't know,
Yeah.
getting to hit people and stuff.
Well, I
And
said
so
most people. You're not most people.
yeah, I'm
There's
not
some.
the smartest one.
There's a screw loose. There's something loose up there. I don't know. I don't know.
To say the least, right? That's a really nice way to put it. Yeah, so that's interesting. Also, maybe being from Oklahoma, like
Yeah.
football's
Yeah.
big in Oklahoma, so maybe like my ego was like, oh, I want to be part of the cool kids or whatever. So I don't know, but yeah, so then you get through high school and you go play college baseball. What
Mhm.
position did you play in baseball?
So in high school, I played center field, and I was like a starting pitcher. And I loved it. I had a ton of fun. I loved my high school coach, and I think it was a really good example of like how certain people in your life can really like take you to the next level or like give you confidence and both challenge you at the same time. And I haven't talked to him. I really need to try to get in contact with this guy. Like he was like probably best coach I ever had. He played pro ball and he came back and coached our high school team. He was awesome. Todd Genke. Todd Genke, if you're
Todd,
listening.
reach out.
No, but he was awesome. Like just really nice guy, but would also challenge you to work really hard. And I had like a ton of confidence in high school, and I was, because of that, and I worked really hard, I would say. And then I got to college, and I kind of felt like I was gonna like go to the next level, and like I was thinking about, should I go to a junior college and then try to transfer to a D1 or maybe even junior college, try to get drafted. And I was like seriously trying to like I want to go pro. And then I decided to go to a Division 3 that I thought I was going to like play and start every single game. And I was like, even maybe I'll play 1 year there and then transfer. And like, this is still a good school. And you can't give scholarships for Division 3, but I got like a bunch of academic scholarships, like, and it's not that it was like working the system necessarily, but I probably got a little bit more than I would have
Mm.
to be able to go there, and so it was very affordable. I wasn't going to have to take out loans, so I went to Augustana College in Rock Island, and just like long story short, like I played a little bit, and I played center field and left field, and then I was a closer. Had one really good year, and then like junior and senior year, I was kind of played on and off, but I wasn't necessarily like always starting. And
Mm.
you know I didn't work as hard. I was drinking a lot already and like having a great time.
Yeah.
Like I'm no denying that. Like I had a great time. Like we had baseball team was kind of like a fraternity and stuff like that, and like we had a blast, but I definitely didn't work as hard. I didn't have as much confidence. And, even by like senior year, I was still playing, and like all my roommates, I had 3 roommates that started off playing college baseball. They'd all quit by senior
Mm.
year, and they were all partying all the time, having a great time. And I'm the one getting up at 5 a.m. to go to practice sometimes, and maybe 4 a.m. because our practice started at 5 a.m. So
Okay.
it just became like not that much fun by the end of college and stuff like that. And that was kind of my whole
That was your
experience.
college
Yeah.
experience. Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, the friends that you roomed with and stuff like
Yeah.
that, did you have any? I should rephrase that. Did you have any friends from high school that then went to the same college?
No, I
Or
didn't know a single person.
so you met everybody through the
Yeah.
baseball team and
Yeah. I didn't know a
oh wow.
single person.
Now you're a pretty social guy. Like you can make friends with about anyone
Now. Yeah.
now. Oh, you
Yeah.
weren't back then?
I would say I was like a little shy
Oh,
for
okay.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think that was a learned thing.
Oh, that's a good
Yeah.
lesson there because like
Oh, definitely.
you're very personable and
If you
you
ask anybody in high
communicate.
schow, I was really shy.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I I've
I was
heard
an emo athletic kid. That's
very very
kind of an
unique.
oxymoron. Yeah.
An oxymoron, the athletic emo kid.
Yeah.
Now, because of your oxymoron
Yeah.
self, you, from what I hear, you were kind of like in several different groups. Like
Yeah.
you didn't have
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you weren't like just a jock or just an emo kid or just a band nerd. Like you were kind of all the above.
Yeah, it
which
was all
is,
the above for sure.
but yet you still like identify yourself as shy and like maybe not very like.
It kind of goes along with emo kid. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you enjoy the emo thing, or was that like?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No. Like I still listen to some of that music.
Oh, awesome.
I played guitar. I was in a band. Like I like a lot of that music and you
Okay,
know. Yeah.
this is great. So if you had to put yourself in one category, I know you were, would you say that you were more of the emo kid or more of the jock?
I don't know. I don't know.
Gotcha.
I'd say 40% emo kid, 40% jock, 20% snowboarder, bro. Yeah. I can't give you more. Yeah.
Is there snowboarding in Chicago?
Oh, there's a lot in the Midwest. It's not good.
Oh, okay.
It's not good.
Gotcha.
We had a 20 minutes away. I had it's not a mountain. It was a hill. It was a garbage dump that they like fill. It was like a landfill, and then like that was the Villa Olivia.
That sounds like
Anyone from the
Oklahoma.
Midwest, Villa Olivia.
Sounds like Oklahoma
Yeah.
would do something like that.
You could probably get like 80 runs in a day because it was such a short run.
Just
Yeah. Oh yeah.
oh my god. Okay. All right. So
Anyway.
well, that's cool. So then
Yeah.
like I know for like me, I pole vaulted and then I was like a redneck and then I played football. So like I was part of the jocks, a little bit part of like the track team or whatever, which there's a lot of overlap there. But then I was part of the hunting crew. And there was like very distinct, like very few people did hunting and sports. I assume like the emo thing is very similar. Like very few kids are, you know, in
Yeah.
both like bands and in
Yeah.
sports, but also creates, down the line many years,
Yeah.
or maybe not many years, maybe in the short term even, like a pretty cool experience all around that you can transfer to other things in life. So with that, I know for me, I had my like jock friends
Mhm.
and then I had my redneck friends. And
Yeah.
like I felt like I was the same person, whoever I was interacting with, but obviously different influences. Did you have like your closest friends whenever you think back that were like in both groups, or did you have like
Yeah.
one kind of more than the other, or?
There's a little overlap. So the easiest way I could explain it is our band. I'm just gonna. It's corny.
What's the band name?
The band name was Lament the Night. It was
Oh,
very emo.
what
Lament the Night.
what does that even mean?
Like to miss or to like it just sounds emo. Like let's not dive into that. So our band, I played guitar and sang. One of my best buddies, Chris, actually best man at my wedding, co-best man with my brother. He was through and through emo kid. Dave was the bassist. Stoner was his last name. That's actually his last name. Stoner. That's a good last name for an emo band right there. Through and through emo kid gamer. Logan was also he was emo kid athlete. Like he was like similar to me. So Logan was actually he went to U of I. He was Chief Illinois. He was the last Chief Illinois before they took it away.
Oh,
ever seen that? University of Illinois where they get on
right.
He was like, and if you get enough drinks in him, he'll do the dance still. He jumps in the air like 6 feet off the ground and does the splits. It's like it's awesome.
You have a celebrity best friend.
Kind of, yes, yeah. But he was kind of similar to me. So there's a lot of overlap. Easiest way to explain it, but yeah. So that's my emo.
That's your emo in you.
Yeah.
Now you played the guitar.
Played guitar and sang. Not a great singer. Better at guitar than singing.
So would you say you're Axeman, I guess, then? And then
I didn't really say that.
No. You just played the guitar.
Just played the guitar.
So how many people are in your band?
Four.
Yeah, bass, singer.
Logan sang too, the drummer, which is not typical. He's very, very talented.
That's pretty cool.
No, he's really, really good.
I've met Logan. I tried to surf with him one time. I say I tried because he surfed. And
you rode one wave.
I
failed miserably. I was expecting to be able to ride a wave. That's harder than expected.
Yeah. I mean, we were out there 30 minutes or so.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt like 30 minutes. Maybe it's like 3 hours.
This is hard. Yeah.
But yeah. So that was my experience with Logan.
Yeah.
So that is that might be the most unique like high school story that I've heard. I thought mine was. I thought rednecks and jocks didn't mesh very well together. But man, emo kids and jocks. But you're in Chicago, so you get all walks of life.
I guess, yeah.
So you go to college. What'd you major in college?
Business marketing and management, and I didn't really learn anything about business marketing or management, but I double concentration. I learned way more about business marketing and management from opening the gym, but before that, I had a painting company with one of my college roommates, John. KJ Deck Maintenance. We did mostly decks. Yeah. Boom. So I learned a lot more about that from actual running a business than studying it.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
But
People.
I studied drinking and playing baseball in college.
Were you good at both?
Probably better at drinking than
And the baseball.
than the baseball in college. No, I was pretty good at both.
Why'd you choose marketing and business?
I don't know. I think I always like I've always had an interest in business. And I think I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And like growing up, I was lucky enough to have a few successful like businessmen in my life, of like buddies, dads, and stuff like that. And I think I always looked at entrepreneurship as like something I wanted to do. And I thought maybe I wanted to be like a teacher and a coach, or maybe like a fireman, or start a business. And so, but I was always like, I don't know, I was always interested in money kind of, but I was interested in what money provides, like freedom and security, but it also feels kind of like a game. Like, you know, it's I went a lot of different directions there, but I think I've just always been interested in the business aspect of like, you get out what you put in. When you're an employee, that's not really necessarily the case.
Totally true. How many
Yeah.
hours you put in, how much you get back in your
Yeah.
your time is bought rather than.
And still not that. And like, that I think we've just kind of BS'd a lot around so far, because we could do that probably for hours.
Yeah.
But I've been lucky enough to like have a lot of experiences in my life and my professional life to figure out what I don't want to do, so that I can figure out what I do want to do. And you say like the hours you put in, but like when my first job out of college, I was wearing a headset just like this. It was business to business cold calling. So it wasn't necessarily like a consumer, like where they're eating dinner with their family or something. I'm calling other businesses, and we sold catalog printing. So I would call other businesses and I'd be like, hey, do you guys have a catalog? Like, think of like any, like a hunting catalog or something like that. What size is it? How many pages is it? Is it a good fit for our company? So I would basically cold call, hi, I'm Kevin with Hess Print Solutions. I'd like to inquire about your, catalog printing to see if we could maybe give a bid for you. So that was what I did all day long. And like, I would do the very minimum that I needed to do to not lose my job.
Oh, wow.
Oh, for sure.
That
for sure.
sounds absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
That sounds absolutely terrible. Now, you did that out of college. So you're graduated.
So I ran a painting business my sophomore year summer with my buddy, then my junior year summer. And that was just like, hey, can we make enough money for beer money and like to have fun during the school year, was literally what it was. And we definitely made enough money to do that. It was awesome. And then senior year, after we graduated, we ran it that summer, and he was kind of like, man, I don't want to do this. I'm going to get a real job. So he did that. And then I ran it a little bit longer. And then that's like a summer thing. Like in Chicago, you can't paint decks and houses on the outside, and like interior painting is like a whole nother animal. And like I had just graduated college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I kind of like did that for a little bit, and then I tried to go get a real job. And so I applied to a bunch of different jobs. And I mentioned earlier, my mom was in the printing business, and it's just kind of funny that like that was the only job that I got an interview for. Got an interview for it, had like 2 interviews, and then like offered me the job. I still remember it was $26,000 a year.
Oh,
and I was like, sweet, let's go. 26,000 a year, and it was like opportunity for like 4,000 in commissions or something like that.
So like maximum be like 30 grand a year.
32 or yeah, I think it was something like that. It was like 32 grand a year if I like hit all my targets or something. And so I was cold calling. I don't know why I remember this. It was like I was supposed to get 8 leads per day, so it'd add up to like 40 per week. That was like the goal. And so I would try to get like I would try to call, and I would try to get 8 leads, and then maybe I might work a little bit ahead. And like if I got 40 on like Wednesday, I could just chill for like the next 2 days. And it was just a spreadsheet. I would just type in like, hate this, the details and stuff like that. And I hated calling people. Oh my gosh. And I ended up trying to figure out like ways to like work around and see how I could like short it and like make it more efficient or something. So I would go on people's websites, like Cabela's would be a good example. I don't want to freaking try to call Cabela's. Okay, I'm just going to go on their website and see if they have a digital catalog and see if I can find the measurements and like all that type of stuff. And like just all that to say that like I was trying to do the very minimum possible, and I didn't want to talk to people, and like super ashamed to say this, but I would just scour like social media after I was done, or like I would just do other irresponsible crap, and sit at my desk and close the door. And yeah, anyway.
Yeah. So, okay, so you get that job out of college. And then, so we were talking, the question kind of came up about why did you choose business marketing? And it's
Yeah.
basically like, all right, you knew you wanted either entrepreneurship, some type of service, whether it be like like firefighting or something to that effect. And then what was your other one? Oh, coach slash teacher.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So entrepreneurship, and you've mentioned to me that, and even I think you briefly mentioned it, that you've had some mentors in your life that were successful businessmen and stuff like that growing up. And through that, it was real estate. The one that I'm thinking of
Yeah.
that was like kind of a mentor when it came to business was family friend's dad,
Yeah.
or one of your best friend's dad,
Yeah.
was successful in and how he kind of lived his life is kind of what, I don't know, what you've mentioned to me numerous times, and the fact that you would never know his success. And so like this individual, like, kind of explain to me or explain to listeners, this mentor that you had, what was it about him that was like kind of just, I guess, mentorous for you? Like what was it you looked
I
up to?
wouldn't call him a mentor
Okay.
necessarily. Like, so he is one of my good buddies, Sean. He actually lives out here in Colorado now, and you've met him before. Um, so his dad had a ski shop slash patio shop, was like kind of his like main business. And then he did a bunch of real estate stuff behind the scenes. Like he started with buying his building for his business, and then he started buying like rental properties and stuff like that. And um, and so basically the simplest way I could put it is I saw him, like they had a nice house, but nothing like crazy or anything like that. And they ended up eventually getting like cool lake house and stuff up in like Lake Geneva in Wisconsin, but nothing like outlandish. But he would ski or golf like 365 days. One of those like 365 days a year. And I was just like, how's this guy doing this? Like and it was the older I got, I started asking questions and stuff like that. And it was just eye opening. Like um, some of the lessons that I just from short, simple conversations was like, it's not that hard to be super, super financially successful. You just have to work hard and you have to try to make the right decisions. Like you have to work hard,
Yeah.
and it was just like super simple. Like one easy example is I was like, he used to do a bunch of fourplexes, like where you have like 4 apartment units.
Hmm.
Um, and I was like, so how did you get into fourplexes? He's like, well, I started off with single family homes, and then I realized I could make, let's say, $600 a month off of one single family home. And then I started doing duplexes, and then I realized I could make like $800 off of that same amount of money invested. Then I started doing fourplexes. I realized I could make like $1,100 off of that. So I
What
kept
was
doing
more?
that. I kept doing that.
It seems so
And then
simple,
I
but
did that over and over again. And then, yeah.
years later, he's now super successful.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
so,
And it was just interesting like that. But I mean, it wasn't a million conversations or anything like that. It was more just like seeing what someone did to become successful. And then like just was interested, always interested in real estate. And he owned like a cool business, like a ski shop, and like it was a patio furniture store in the summer. And I worked there for a few years and stuff. And
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
it was just seeing that. And yeah,
So the reason why I bring him up is because you mentioned something earlier about how, well, one, that like being money driven was more of a game rather than,
yeah,
much else. And then also the freedom that
yeah,
like money or success kind of gives you. And so like I think it's just kind of a cool point to bring up that, you know, when you bring up money, you're not saying that you're necessarily chasing the dollar. You're chasing what the dollar leads to, which is freedom. And something that you and I talk about, and you do, I think, a really good job of, is work life balance, and like having a focus on like, okay, I want to prioritize my marriage. I want to prioritize my kids. I want to prioritize like having a good time in my good years where I can do all these things. I want to have a successful business. I want to be a competitive athlete. And so, it comes down to hard work. And so, the fact that you chase the dollar because it gives you that freedom is, I think, a really good, I don't know, just perspective on it. And that the dollar leads to so many other things. And I know you and I have had this discussion before where I'm very, very less money driven.
yeah.
And so I think that perspective that you take on it is a much more healthier way to look at it, because I almost look at it like, man, if I chase the dollar, I just think of that as negative. And I think in society we kind of have that hammered into us, like you should chase what you love to do, and then from that, if you're able to make a living, great. And how you do it, I don't know, I really respect that, and I think that's a good perspective and something that I'm sure a lot of people can kind of take away from, try to implement that in their careers or where they go.
I think it's taken me a longer to get here than I wish it would have taken me. But it's cool to hear you like repeat back what I say in my own head all the time. Is it's almost like at the gym we say integrity, progression, community, and we say it all the time. And it's almost like we're we're trying to drill that in so that we like, it's not even, there's no hesitation. It's like we make decisions and it's like, is this a decision based on integrity? Is this, going to progress the gym in some way or progress our members in some way? Is it good for the community? Like, it's just boom, boom, boom. Like it's really easy. It's really clear. And I kind of do that myself in my own life is you basically just repeated it, but my priority list is I want to be a good husband. I want to be a good father. I want to be a good gym owner. I want to be a good athlete, and I want to try to enjoy the process doing it. And so when you say like I'm more money driven, I see being a good husband as, I want to set myself up where Liz and I can, enjoy life and be safe. Like if one of us gets some crazy sickness, we can take care of ourselves. Like same thing as being a dad. Like I want to be able to provide for my family. And if something, bad happens, we don't stress about money necessarily, and also be an example for my kids when it matters later. Obviously, it doesn't matter right now. And then, I want to be a good gym owner. And then when I think about that, I think about the finances are just a reflection of value. Like if we do an awesome job for our gym members, like they're gonna the money will follow. And so it's hard to, we've talked about this before because it's like we want to, this is another statement that like I say to myself all the time is we want to affect as many lives as possible in a meaningful way. And it's like that's really hard to like judge. There's no scoreboard for that.
Totally.
And so I think the finances are kind of like just a reflection of like, are we doing a good job?
100%. 100%. Yeah.
And so, and I think coming up with some of those statements has been like huge for me. And we haven't like dove into like any of my past and stuff like that, but like I just never used to even think like that. Like I thought about like how can I get the most like pleasure out of today? Like how can I get through this work day so I can go home, I can sit on the couch and watch TV or play video games or go to the casino or something or go out drinking or like go eat some crappy food. It's going to make me feel good. And it was never any thought past like what's going to feel good in the moment right now.
So you did kind of mention that earlier a little bit about when you were talking about your work experience with your first job. You're like, all right, to some extent, you actually would kind of be very intentional with your work because it was a means to an end. Like, all right, if I get to 40 leads, then I can be done. And so like there was a direction there, but it was for like not necessarily like value driven reasons. It was like you kind of mentioned selfish reasons or gluttonous reasons. So now, as you kind of bring this up, so tell me a little bit about you kind of, if you're in athletics and you have some structure where you're getting up at 4 o'clock to go to 5 a.m. workouts, like there's
in college,
in college. And so there's that structure in college. And I'm sure you said you had a good time, but it didn't seem like it was like out of line or anything like that. But then after you lost like the athletic structure or like, did you go through, you've kind of hinted around it. So like what happened outside after college? It sounded like when that first job was going on, you had some other stuff going on. Tell me a little bit about what that was about.
So I say this when like gym members walk in the door, like, hey, my personal story is in college I played college baseball. I was an athlete. I drank a few beers, and then after college I drank way too many beers. Is like kind of the way I put it. So like in college it was like maybe on like Friday night or Saturday night if it didn't have a game the next day. Like if we had a doubleheader on Saturday, no one's going to drink on Friday night. Hopefully not. But let's say that like let's say Saturday night we didn't have to have a practice on Sunday or something, like we would have a big party on Saturday night, and like maybe once a week or twice a week I'd drink. Then after college, there's a lot of different life experiences that I'm thankful for. That first job I was talking about, I worked at that job for 51 weeks, and I can tell you exactly why that is. I had been told on a Friday that I was getting a promotion to move to outside sales, and I was going to get a bump to like 38K a year, or like 40K. And I was like, let's go.
Like a 50% pay increase.
Yeah. And so I was on a Friday, I was told I was going to get a promotion. On Monday, I came into the office, sat everybody down, and like, it was real quick. They were like, all right, now that everybody's here, we're shutting down this office. We're going to talk to each one of you guys individually, let you know your future with the company. And so we had been bought out by another company. It was a merger, and the printing business dying. Like, it's been dying for 10 years.
What year is this?
This is 2011.
Okay.
2011. So it was already dying back then. And so my my boss that had told me I was getting a promotion on Friday sat me down. I wasn't even nervous still. I was like, oh, I'm going to outside sales. Like, this office is the inside sales office. Doesn't matter. This is all where the phone calls happen. And so he's like, Kevin, we're going to let you go. We're going to give you 2 weeks severance because you haven't been working here for a year. Everyone, like, I found out later, everyone that had been working there for a year got like 3 or 4 months severance or something. I got my final paycheck and that was it. And they were like, everyone that had been working there for a year or more.
And
I was 51. I was 1 week away.
Oh.
So it was kind of funny. And I just bought a house like 2 weeks before that. Yeah. And so it was like I'd lost my job and I was like, I mean, and that was probably the first time that in my life that I could say that I was like feeling depressed, and I was like super just down on myself. And Liz and I were dating at the time, actually. So we dated at the end of college. We dated for maybe like, I don't know, a year and a half after college or something like that. And she actually worked in the same building. It was crazy. I drove an hour. And so like, I was like, I just got fired. Like, and like my mom would always be like, no, you didn't get fired. Like you got,
New opportunities, brother.
no, it was like, there's a different word. What's the word I'm looking for?
You're like furloughed?
No, yeah, it's like, but they ended up, long story short. So my boss that had fired me fired everybody else in this office. And then the next day, his boss fired him.
Oh.
And so it's like,
Just the
yeah, I was like, whoa. And he contacted me later and he was just like, I'm so sorry. Like I thought I had to like get rid of everybody for keep my job. And then they fired him. And it was, so anyway.
It's like the best example of corporate right there, man.
Yeah.
God.
And so, I don't want to like, because we don't need to go into all these details, but I drank a lot during that time. I tried to be a professional poker player for a while there. And I did fine. Like I made money, but it was like so stressful.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got like $30,000 a year coming in and you're going to like gamble it.
Yeah.
Stuff like
And
that.
So, and then Liz and I broke up, and that was like, I'm thankful that I had been let go of a job so I can relate to people when, anything like that happens, because that ended up being like the best thing that ever happened to me. Getting rid of that job, because I was making nothing and I was going in an industry that was dying. And so Liz and I ended up breaking up. She was the opposite of my lazy, unemployed, drinking, gambling. Like, she was the opposite. She had a regular full-time job, and then she was getting her master's from DePaul, which was like an hour downtown with traffic. So she would work her regular job, then she would go to school at night. And she got her master's like over that. She was getting her master's, and she was like, that was part of the reason. Like, I was just a lazy bum, and I was like, and we, neither of us were happy necessarily, because she was just so stressed out working her butt off, and I was just depressed because I was being lazy. And anyway, so Liz and I broke up. We weren't even on speaking terms for about a year. I started going to our local bar all the time. Beehive, that's what it's called, the Beehive. Shout out to the Beehive. Happy hour, Mondays and Wednesdays, 4 to 6 p.m. Anyway, so I probably went there, I don't know, 5 days a week.
Oh my
I would guess. And that was, let's say, for a month or two, just going to the bar, drinking all the time and stuff. I started dating the bartender. And so, great girl, like good person, really, really, really good heart, but this was not like a good crew to be hanging out with. So I dated her for about a year. And during that time, one of the regulars at the bar, actually, he worked there. I forgot this. He worked there on the weekends, worked for this company called Aspen Marketing. And so it was this marketing company that did marketing for car dealerships. So I got to know him, and like we hung out and drank together, and, we had a good time, blah, blah, blah. And then he ended up getting me this job with this company called Aspen Marketing. And it was an inside sales job, another inside sales, but it was for way more money. So I was selling marketing to car dealerships. So I would call car dealerships on the phone, typically the service department, and I would try to sell them like direct mail marketing. And that was mostly what we did. And so that was my next job, sitting at a desk, making cold calls. And I actually kind of liked that job a little bit more because it was like a competitive atmosphere. So I'll just tell one quick story that's kind of funny. We would have on Monday mornings, we would have like a 2-hour meeting. Okay. Let's say there's 30 people in my sales department. I think there's about 30. There was 15 chairs. Okay. The previous month, however you did in sales the previous month, they would seat you first place, second place, third place, fourth place, fifth place. And if you if you were in 16th or below, you had to stand during the 2 hour meeting. And then the first place chair was the most comfortable chair. And then it was like it went on and you had like a regular, like crappy, like metal chair by the time 15th place, but you had like a lazy boy in first place.
Oh my God.
Hilarious.
That's such a good idea though. That's such a good idea.
But like if you're the one standing, it sucks. Like it freaking sucks. And so my boss there was real hard ass. But so I kind of liked it in a way because it was competitive and it kind of felt like athletics, but like I ended up doing well like financially and I sold a lot. I worked actually pretty hard, and then I ended up getting a job promotion to go into outside sales. And so I wasn't sure where I was going to go. It was like South Carolina at one point. I was going to go to Georgia, and then I was literally like about to move to North Carolina or South Carolina. I couldn't remember which one it was. And like I was going to move like a week later, and they were like, "Actually, we're sending you to Oklahoma." And I was like, okay, makes no difference to me. Like I'll whatever. And so during that whole time, I was dating this bartender and I was like hanging out with the wrong crowd. And I would, uh, just to like put it super simply, there was multiple nights where like I would have to get up I had East Coast and West Coast dealerships, so I would have to be to work, I believe at 8 a.m. and it was an hour, like maybe like 45 minutes away. So I'd be waking up at I don't know 6:30 a.m. to get to work. There was multiple nights where I'd be out till like midnight, just drinking or whatever, and then I would sleep in my car during my lunch break. I wouldn't even eat lunch. I would eat lunch at my desk, and I would just sleep in my car because I was tired. And there was multiple nights where my girlfriend at the time, who was a bartender, they would bartend till 12 or 1 a.m. and then they would go out. And then there was one bar around the area that was open till 3 a.m. I think it was either 3 or 4. So I get a call at like 3:30 sometimes, like,
oh my God.
"Hey, I'm drunk. Can you come pick me up?" Basically. So I go pick up, you know, get up at 6:30 a.m. All that type of stuff. So I kind of said like, oh, I enjoyed that a little bit more, but it was like a shred. I enjoyed my job a little bit more, but I was like definitely feelings of, I don't know. I don't know if I can say depression, like maybe, I had no purpose. I just didn't really enjoy life. I was just kind of like, I was living for the weekend, but I wasn't even waiting for the weekend to live for the weekend. I was on a Tuesday night, I was going to the bar and it would,
Living for like 9 p.m. or something.
living for 5 p.m. You know what I mean?
5,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, living for 5 p.m.
Yeah.
As soon as you get off
got
work.
the
Yeah.
weekend
And then
starts every day,
you'd
got
go
it.
to the bar and eat bar food and, drinks and, maybe
Yeah.
I'd have 6 drinks or 8 or 10 or something like that. And like, that wasn't even you know, wasn't even a thought. Like I'd probably have to have like 20 drinks or 24 in order to like really
Go off your rocker.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was just like a Tuesday night. You just go to the bar, you get, bar food and you drink, you just chill. And like, it was like what I was saying earlier, it was like living for just that moment, like whatever feels good in the moment right there. And I did that for almost about a year, dated this girl for about a year. Wasn't working out at all. Like maybe once every month, once every like 3-4 weeks or something like that. The very most. Maybe I played softball sometimes. Like once a week, I'd play softball. That was my athletic. Yeah, no activity. I started gaining a lot of weight. With my girlfriend, we took this trip to Vegas, and there was like a very defining moment for me in this whole thing. So we stayed at Caesar's Palace, and I don't know if anyone's ever been to Caesar's, but on certain floors, I think on most floors, I don't know, but on the floor we were staying on, the hallways are marble. And the reason that I remember this very distinctly is white marble. Is we drank way too much. We were gonna go to sleep. I don't know, 1 or 2 a.m. or something. We got in an argument. She locked me out of the hotel room and I couldn't get in the hotel room. I tried to go to the front desk and like, I don't think my name was on the reservation. So like I couldn't get a key. So went back up, couldn't get in. I slept in the hallway on the marble floor. That is not comfortable. All right. And so I'm looking up at the ceiling and I'm just like, I need to change something about my life. And I'm on this marble floor, like trying to sleep. And so I don't know what day that was, but we get back to Chicago and I remember like weighing myself. I hadn't weighed myself for a while, and I saw 242.3 on the scale. 242.3. Like I don't know why.
For reference, what do you weigh now?
200.
Okay. So
Yeah.
40 pounds, over 40
Yeah.
pounds.
And
bigger.
it was not muscle.
Right.
It was not muscle. Like I still had muscle from like lifting so much in college and like being an athlete, but like that moment of like sleeping on a marble floor, staring up the ceiling, like half drunk, just being like, what am I doing with my life right now? And then like getting back and weighing, you know, I don't know, 40 pounds heavier than what I played baseball at, maybe 35 pounds heavier with, you know, soft. And like, I had my suit pants that I had to wear a suit to work every day. My suit pants, I had a 38-inch like suit pants waist. And like, I wore a belt. Maybe I should have been a 36, but like now I'm probably like a 30, something
Right,
like that. And I like looked at that scale. I was like, dude, something's got to change.
How old were you this time?
23.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. 12
Maybe
years ago.
24. I'd have to think about the
Yeah. Still though, so early 20s.
early middle of 2012. I know that because
Gotcha.
I know when I
Okay.
started CrossFit.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So 2012, I graduated in 2009. So it was a few years after graduating. It was weird. It was kind of a slow progression. Like I was still like keeping good shape. And like I was, you know, drinking and eating crappy and it didn't catch up to me. Then all of a sudden it was just like, boom, like I gained like 20 pounds in like the course of like maybe 2 months or something like that. It was like my body was just like, fine, like whatever, like we give up. Our
Caught up to you.
metabolism's just like, screw it.
Yeah.
And so the girl that I was dating, we broke up. I was wanting to get in shape. I was going to like a regular gym. I forget what it was called, but it was right by my work. It was like a regular Globo gym, and I started like doing workouts like what I did in college and all that type of stuff. And then I did P90X at home.
Tony Horton.
Tony Horton. Yeah, and I didn't do P90X for very long, but one of my buddies, Oz Kurap, if he ever listens to this, great dude. He used to call me Beast Mode. We used to work out together on lunch. He used to call me Beast Mode. And he goes, "Hey, Beast Mode, I've been watching these like CrossFit videos. Like, dude, we gotta do CrossFit, dude." And I'm like, that stuff's stupid. Like, that's just stupid. And he convinced me, and he was like I found this gym. Like, there's one like in my hometown, and they had like a free intro class at CrossFit Tri-Cities, St. Charles. It's called something else now. It's not called Tri-Cities, but it was for a long time. And so we went and tried out CrossFit Tri-Cities, and I freaking loved it. It was awesome. And the first workout we did was 10 minutes of Cindy. And I did all my pull-ups strict and all that. And I was maybe like 225 at the time. Like I had already lost.
You'd kind of
Yeah, I'd worked out a few months on my own. I started eating healthy.
Crazy how that works.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah.
Okay, so you find CrossFit. Yeah. Well, so you've had this aha moment on the marble floor in Vegas, and then it sounds like you get back and you kind of like, okay, I need to take action,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So like, tell me a little bit about the mental process, because you said you had the big thing I took away from kind of your explanation of the rough time you went through was the lack of fulfillment, because that's what I feel myself. To me, as I get older, like fulfillment is like what I kind of gravitate towards. And so, and you mentioned that, and so this time, just when you start recognizing it, you're like 22, 23. Maybe you don't define it as fulfillment, but you definitely define it as that now. And so you start down this path of trying to have a healthier lifestyle and stuff like that. And it starts with your diet and your exercise, and then probably your sleep, like the things that you can really stay in control of. And then you start getting those in line, and then you start seeing progress elsewhere, to the point of where they're going to move you to some outside sales where you have more opportunities and stuff like that. So it's like you start taking control of your life, the things that you can control, what you put in your mouth, when you go to bed, how active you are and stuff like that. And then you start seeing progress in other aspects of your life. And then eventually you somehow get reconnected with Liz.
Yeah. So I think before talking about that, so I've always been really goal oriented, and it was like, you know, I've wanted to be so many different things over my life. Like at one point I wanted to be a pro snowboarder. At one point I wanted to, you know, be a musician. And then like I liked the studio aspect, and like I had like in high school I was like doing recordings and stuff like that. I thought maybe I wanted to do that. And then I've always wanted to be a pro baseball player since I was young. And so I always have these like goals of like this future moment of like what I want to accomplish. So I've always been super goal oriented. And I think with CrossFit, I thought my athletic career was totally over. Like I thought that, you know, I thought I was gonna be Uncle Rico, be like I used to be able to throw a football over the mountains over there, but you know, that was back in the day. And so I totally thought my athletic career was totally over. And like, I was kind of sad. I was pretty sad about it. Not kind of sad. I was very sad about it. And like, I was like, oh, I guess all there is now is just make money. And maybe someday I'll, meet a girl that I want to start a family with and be a dad. And then I'll be telling my son about, oh, I used to be so good at baseball. And so when I saw the CrossFit games, I was like, wow, that is awesome. Like, I want to do that. And I do remember thinking logically about it where I was like, I saw there was some guys that like okay, this is 2012. And they're like, I think like Neil Maddox was like 40. And you remember that dude?
Yeah.
He
Oh
was
yeah.
jacked.
Yeah. I think at that
Yeah.
point he's
And
probably
like
like mid late
maybe,
30s.
yeah. But let's say he's like 37. I just remember he still competed till he was
Yeah.
like 39 or something
Uh,
in the main division and was like crushing it,
Yeah.
super jacked. And there was other guys that were like 35, crushing it. And I was like, I'm 23. Like, I can get in shape. Like, I can do this. And so I think it was just this goal of like, and right away, I was like, I want to make it to the CrossFit Games. Totally unrealistic about my potential to be able to do that year. I
Oh,
was like,
you were like this year.
I
I'm going to
started,
CrossFit
I
Games.
started, I want to say I started in November. I started CrossFit in November and I was like, I want to make it next year. Like,
Oh
it's,
my
it's not till
gosh.
July, dude.
I got 7 months, 8 months to
Like,
get.
I just have to work really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I got this.
Yeah.
And like, and part of the way that I justified it is like, you start CrossFit, you do a workout. Let's say that I did 10 minutes of Cindy and I got 6 rounds, and the next time I did, I got 8. Dude, I'll just keep going. Like, I'm gonna be there. And that was like kind of how in my head I was like, I'm gonna make it to the CrossFit Games.
Mm.
And then the further I got into it, I was like, okay. Well, the first open really humbled me. Yeah, that was the 7 minutes of burpees.
2013.
I want to say, yeah. I want to say it was 2013.
2013.
No, 2012. I started CrossFit in 2011. Okay, I think I
Okay.
started in 2011.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Yeah, that makes sense.
I got some of my years wrong. So like I was 23. It was 2011
Gotcha.
that I was okay. So I don't have the greatest memory.
It's okay. You're 1 year up.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
So it was the 2012 Open, I believe.
Golly.
7 minutes of burpees, and it was like I did it on a Friday, threw up. I was like, I could beat my score. Did it on a Sunday, got one less burpee, threw up. Did it on a Monday. I was on pace to not beat it again, and I think I stopped. And I don't think I threw up that time, but it was just like, and I just that was the first week, and I was just like so humbled.
Oh yeah.
And then week 2 was like snatches, and I remember like asking one of the coaches, I was like, how do you do this? Can you like show me like all I know how to do is this like power thing, like or catch a high thing. Can you show me how to like get under it? And this was like 30 minutes before I did the open workout. He's like trying to show me how to do it and stuff. And so, and I'd been doing CrossFit for a little bit already.
Yeah.
I couldn't do a squat snatch because I didn't have the flexibility.
Oh man.
I was like, but I feel like these people that are doing more weight are like catching it lower. Like I think if I can catch it lower, I can do more weight. So like
I don't know what that is, but that's what I need to be doing.
So I was humbled very quickly, but I was just like, I remember, I was still maybe like 215 pounds at that time. Like I was like
30 pounds or so.
Yeah, over 6 months
Right.
maybe. But like I had been doing CrossFit for maybe like 3 or 4 months. I started CrossFit maybe at like 225 or 228, and then I was maybe 212 or 213 or something. So I had lost some weight, but I was still a little soft. But I just loved it. And I remember just thinking like, dude, I have come so far already. Like I can't wait to see how far I can go. And like I had totally stopped drinking like cold turkey, like basically since I started CrossFit. And I just needed this goal to be like, and anyway, when I had first started, I was still friends with Liz on Facebook, but we weren't on speaking terms for almost a year and a half, I believe. And like I'd seen that she was doing CrossFit. And I saw like her CrossFit pictures and stuff. She started before me. She likes to point that out. She likes to point that out. Yeah, it's been I don't even know what. I mean, I've been doing CrossFit for like 11 years. She's been doing it for like 11 and a half.
Well, you started in 2011, so this means this is what your 12th open.
It was the very end of 2011. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
So
like over 11 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I saw that she was doing CrossFit, and I think I sent her like a Facebook message like, hey, are you doing CrossFit? Like I just started. Like that's cool, And so we literally kind of we like rekindled our relationship because like we were both wanting to get healthier and wanting to like live a healthier life, and like our friends surrounding us, we had a lot of the same friends still because we were in the same college group. And then I had my high school friends and stuff, and I had my like new like friends that I was friends with at the bar and all that type of stuff. And so we were like, all of our friends were like, you guys are lame. Like, why don't you come drink? Was basically, why don't you come party? and we were both wanting to get healthy. And so we like started like hanging out again. She like made me paleo brownies one time when we were first like dating again.
Then it was over.
It was over. It was over. Yeah. And so I was definitely a different person. She's always been like such a hard worker, and she's always been awesome. That's why I fell in love with her in college and stuff. But she also had a little bit better like work life balance, and she wasn't getting her master's degree anymore. She had her master's.
Wow.
So she would get off work at 5 and get to go to CrossFit. Instead of
Gotcha.
go drive downtown and do your class and then you gotta do homework and all that type of stuff. So we were able to like, that's how we kind of rekindled our relationship and fell in love again.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's really cool how like being on the same page of what you want out of life, and you kind of gravitate towards one another. That's not easy to find, especially going through all that. Like I can only
Yeah.
imagine like well, screw it. She doesn't want to talk to me anyway. I'm just gonna go ahead and reach out and be like, oh, you're doing CrossFit, just because like whatever,
Yeah.
Hail Mary, and then it worked.
Yeah.
And then also that can be really tough if you're in the same friend group. You are who you surround yourself with, and so how you both are like, yeah, I don't want to go do this, or I don't want to go drink, I don't, I want to be healthy and whatnot, and like how that's like a foundational piece of
Yeah.
your relationship. And still to this day, you guys, continue that work life balance and raising kids and having the healthy lifestyle. Like that's something to look up to, and something that I think everybody can take something away from. Of like, hey, yeah, when you find somebody that's making a positive impact, like it can be tough sometimes maybe to kind of change things up, but kind of gravitate towards that. So
I think there was something you mentioned in there that I strongly believe in is like who you surround yourself with is like what's that quote, like you're average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
But I I think that there's a way to expedite that, I guess. I think it's very important who you spend your time with and who you surround yourself with, but it's also important who you kind of mirror or follow in their path. And if you don't have someone that's like close to you that firsthand that you want to emulate, then nowadays you can find it on social media. And it's like, I can read books, I can listen to podcasts and audiobooks, and I can, listen to interviews. And I like love doing that now because it's like, it's almost like you can be like buddies with this person without ever actually knowing them. And like I get on kicks. I like
yeah.
I'll get on like a David Goggins kick, and then I'll get on like Grant Cardone, who's like more of a business guy, and then like I don't know why, but lately I've been on a Kobe Bryant kick.
Yeah.
And obviously there's no like recent interviews,
Right.
but like I like his mindset. I've just like listened to a lot of interviews and stuff like that, and I feel like I kind of know him, not that well, but like I feel like I kind of know him, and I feel like you can surround yourself with these influences of what you want to emulate and become, even if it's not your person that you see every single day.
Yeah.
That being said, like I try to emulate you in like multiple ways, and things that I used to give you like crap about, I respect more, and now I'm trying to do more. Where I used to just be like, sometimes Casey just wants to work hard to work hard. Sometimes Casey just wants to do a crappy workout because he just wants to build his mental toughness. And like maybe you do this workout that isn't actually going to help you any sort of fitness wise or something, but it's like you're like building mental toughness. And I used to just be like what's he doing?
Yeah.
But like now I kind of emulate, some of the things that I see in you and like other people. And when I first started CrossFit, like that was so helpful for me of like, look at all these people that are crushing it, that don't need to go party and drink on the weekends, that have their lives together. And like, holy crap, that 40-year-old mom of four just kicked my ass on that workout. And that is so based off of true stories. Like,
Yeah, no,
oh,
we
like,
see it all the
and
time.
I can see, I know who this person is. There's like 3 of them at Tri-Cities. I remember they would just kick my ass, and they were like all like in their late 30s, like early 40s, and like had multiple kids and were just crushing it.
That's so awesome,
And I was
isn't
like,
it?
I'm 23 and I'm a college athlete and I'm getting my butt kicked right now.
You make such a good point. I try to say a lot at the gym, and I know through personal experience, like going through the police academy and stuff like that. Just suffering with someone or alongside someone, you learn a lot about them. And I think for me personally, how you kind of relate back to some of your stories there of me just enjoying suffering, you learn a lot about yourself going through in a very controlled environment. Like it's a workout in the grand scheme of things, but that's not to say there's not tons of value they can find from that about yourself. And if you suffer alongside someone, you learn something about that person. If you suffer alone, man, you're going to learn a lot about yourself. When you're alone with
Yeah.
your thoughts in the middle of a workout, you can find out if you're really going to push or not going to push or something like that. And we always perform better when we're around other people.
Yeah.
And on one hand, like this, it is what it is. But it's one of my things that I hate most, actually. I hate knowing that I'm going to perform better in a competition than I am one on one. And I try to overcome that. And I don't know anybody that ever has been able to do that. I wish I could perform the same intensity level and execute the same way and work as hard when I'm by myself in the garage as I do on the competition
Yeah.
floor. But I can't do that. But so that's a challenge I
Yeah.
try to go through, because ultimately, I define character as what you're doing when no one's watching. And I think that goes right in line with integrity. And so, if you know that you're working hard, or and that goes for a workout, it goes for your professional life, your marriage, um, being a father. Like if you know whether or not you're putting in the effort that you should be, or you're not putting in the effort. So, um, yeah. So just kind of piggybacking what you said there. I Going back to your story of kind of overcoming and everything. I know before we did this, you kind of mentioned like, hey, you know, my story, it's not the same as some of the other people that you've had, or like some other struggles. And we had the conversation that, like, I bet more people can relate to what you've kind of touched on there. And so if you could summarize it in like just a few lines of like what you went through as far as like struggles go, and how you overcame them, because your story, I bet 90% of people have found a point in their life where it's hard to define. Is it depression? Is it,
Yeah.
anxiety? Like, however you want to define it. But it's a lack of fulfillment and lack of purpose.
Yeah.
And so what that felt like for you, and then getting through it, how did you kind of get through it? And then what is it like on the other side of it now, and how you use that experience to kind of get through some of the stuff today? So, like, doesn't have to be crazy drawn out, but,
Yeah.
a few sentences there on like what it felt like and where you're at now.
I feel like there's a lot of things I kind of want to dive into, but to make it a quotable thing.
Oh, yes,
Uh,
yes.
I think what is easy in the moment is unfulfilling afterwards.
Mm,
What's hard in the moment is very fulfilling afterwards.
mm,
And so when I think about drinking or partying or sitting on the couch watching TV or playing video games, that's very fulfilling in the moment, or it's very fun in the moment, and you just kind of feel empty afterwards, and it's just like, why did I do that? Like
mm.
it's just kind of regret afterwards. And you know, there was times where we would have like a crazy baseball party in college, and you wake up the next morning, you're like, that was crazy, that was so much fun. Further along I got in my life, the older I got, and then when it was like going out to the bars and stuff, I would wake up the next morning, I'd just be like, what the F am I doing? Like, I feel like crap. I got to go to work now. Oh, it's Monday morning. Like, I don't want to go to work. Like, how can I check out the whole like day, like check out mentally and just get past this day so I can go home and sit on the couch and watch TV again, and, eat whatever food, fast food, and just like have fun again, you know?
Mhm.
And then the opposite of that is CrossFit's a great example, is like, man, there's very rare times where in the middle of a workout, I'm like, this is so much fun.
That's so true.
Like maybe if you're like lifting or something, like I
Yeah.
think that that's fun, but it's like, I, I never, pretty much never am like, this is so much fun. I am like focusing on what I'm doing. Like, hey, I'm gonna try to push this. I really want to get this score this time, or like, hey, I want to make sure I don't give in here. But then after it's over, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I did that.
Mm,
And I think that everything in life is, when you have a purpose, and when you're, living your purpose towards a goal, whatever it may be, it can be anything. Um, it's not going to be the work required to fulfill that purpose is not going to be easy, and it might not be enjoyable at all.
mhm.
But that doesn't mean it's not worth it. And I would rather suffer, quote unquote. It's not true suffering. You're
Right.
doing a
Yeah.
workout, but you equate that to like business and working long hours. You equate it to, if I'm exhausted and I come home and Beckett and Finley want to play, and they want to, hey dad, will you build this with me or something? And I'm like, dude, I'm tired. Like, I just want to sit on the couch. Can we just watch a movie or something? Like, that's not easy to necessarily like always try to be on and always,
Mhm.
but like, I I want to do that, and I want to live most of my life to be doing the uncomfortable things so that I can feel that fulfillment and that purpose. And it's not to say that I feel like I have everything figured out or something. But I'm loving life. And
Mhm.
like, when I wake up on a Monday morning, I'm like, okay, I really want to get all this stuff done. Like, how am I going to fit this in? How am I going to be a good husband, good dad,
Mhm.
be a good gym owner, be a good athlete? And like, oh my gosh, I don't think I have enough time to fit this in. That was never what I felt like when I was working a desk job and when I, was drinking all the time and stuff like that. And somewhere where we haven't gone, and like, we could probably talk for hours and
Yeah.
hours, but when I look back on the times that I was like had no purpose and I was not enjoying life and I was, seriously, I do feel like I was borderline depressed and just not happy.
Right.
During those times I was focused on how can I help myself, which wasn't really
Mhm.
even helping myself. I was just like, how can I enjoy today?
Mhm.
And then maybe like, how can I take care of this, how can I help this girl that I was dating that also has issues just like me, and like, we're doing unhealthy things. Those were the only things I was focusing on, not losing my job, stuff like that. And then once I was able to, try to focus on improving myself and getting healthier and happier and more motivated, then I'm like, okay, how can I go help other people? Like, how can
Mhm.
I, you know, to open this gym, and like, how can we help more people and affect more
Mhm.
lives? And it was not to like try to overblow quota or something like that, but it's like, even just a few hundred members in our gym, and then you multiply that by the other gyms, and then maybe, somebody in our gym like affects someone outside of the gym positively. It's like this whole,
Mhm.
tree of different people we can affect. And like, I would say for 2.5 years there, I was just in like a horrible spot where I didn't care about anyone else,
Mhm.
and didn't, that was the last thing on my mind, was to try to affect other people and improve other people's lives. And that was why I felt, no purpose and no happiness, really.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, the what I kind of take away from that is fulfillment slash purpose. So find your what's going to fulfill you and what's going to kind of bring you purpose in life, and then delayed gratification of, like, because we live in a society where delayed gratification is very rare, it seems like,
Yeah.
but it is a very common theme among successful people. Now, success can be defined in many ways, but you look at anybody that you probably respect as somebody who's successful. They didn't just wake up one day and say, "I'm going to be successful," and then bam, it happened. What is it, like,
I love
10
the
years
quote.
for overnight success or something like that?
Yeah. Well, I love the quote that was like, anyone that's ever been wildly successful didn't feel like it was an accident. It was like, it's
Mm,
like something like that.
such a good point. Yeah.
Where like other people maybe think that, but like they expect that, and then oftentimes they're like, man, it took way longer than I
Yeah.
ever expected.
Yeah.
It's never an accident. Like,
And, back to,
somebody doesn't accidentally win the CrossFit Games.
that's so true. That's so true.
Like,
Yeah.
if you ask Matt Frazier when he was, in it, it's like, did you feel like you were going to win the CrossFit Games? He's like, yeah, that was
That was the
every
purpose.
minute of the day that I woke up.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. So, purpose and then delayed gratification is kind of what I take out of that. And, you see that in the gyms, and you see, I mean, I know personally, like, going through COVID, like, we were starting to hit a little bit of stride, and then all of a sudden, bam, you get punched in the gut. And COVID, as bad as that sucked, and I freaking hated every second of it, it's instilled a new level of confidence of, like, and level of resilience, I feel like, in me, from a business
Yep.
standpoint of, like,
Yeah.
okay, like, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to hit roadblocks, and they're going to give up, or they're going to be like, man, this is tough, and they're not going to lean into it. I feel like, one, we have an amazing community at Code Iron View, and two, I feel like we're like, all right, this sucks, but it's not over. Like, there's got to be a way out, and that's something that you've kind of instilled in me. Like, no matter if it's business or other aspects of business or whatever, like, there's always a way to kind of get through it and figure it out. You just kind of got to figure it out or make your own path. And yeah, so that was, yeah, I mean, just knowing that, okay, eventually it'll get better. And that's kind of a theme that comes up a lot, whether it's business or mental health or any of those things. A lot of people talk about, like, stay in the fight
Yeah.
and keep grinding, but you
We
also have to have something you're aiming towards.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's really important, and we've talked about it before. But a lot of people have heard us say this before. But we were gonna open a gym in Broomfield. We
Yep.
were gonna lease a
Yep.
space. We were gonna pay a lot of money, and I think that I was a little bit cocky to think that, like, not that we were just gonna like crush it so easily. It was that I knew I wasn't gonna give up,
Mhm.
because I had done it before where I don't like share this a ton. Like, I've mentioned this to you before, but like, I was 23 and I worked my way up in that sales company to outside sales. And I remember my tax return said $127,000.
Crazy.
And then I quit my job to open Coda Norman. I paid myself $0 for 6 months. My salary was $0, and I had taken all the money that I made from that previous year. I only worked that job for a year. I couldn't handle it for longer than that. Took like basically all the money I'd saved to open up Coda Norman. And I remember like there was a ton of people close to me that were like, "You're stupid. Like you're 23 years old. You're making over six figures." And like this was in 2011, so like was like making a ton of money, but I hated my day to day, hated my job. And I remember I was like, I'm going to make Coda Norman successful because I ain't going back to that desk. Like, I don't want to work that job, and I will do anything and everything to make this successful. And so I think that it like built some confidence. But then when we were opening up in Colorado, I was like, there's no way I'm gonna quit. Like, we're gonna work our butts off, and we probably still would have made it work. But I don't know. It
Yeah.
was we ended up with a much better situation with the space we're at, and with taking over CrossFit Julia, and like at least having some members to start with, and all that type of stuff. But uh, I guess, all that to say that like, stay in the fight, and you can definitely quote that for anybody is like, if you have a goal and you're trying to accomplish something, it's like, all you have to do is not give up. And I know that sounds so simple.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you fail, you think of that as your first attempt and then your second attempt. And I mean, it's like it's something that I really want to accomplish, but I've failed at qualifying for the CrossFit Games 11
Same.
times now.
Same.
And it's just my first 11 attempts,
That's
so
a really good way to look at it.
hopefully this year,
but we'll see. Yeah, hopefully.
But, and one thing, I know we keep rambling and we probably have to wrap this up soon, but, one thing that I always need to remember, and Liz does an awesome job of like keeping me grounded in this regard, is I will put my head down and I will work until the goal is achieved, or maybe it's never achieved, and then I'll just work the rest of my life trying to achieve it. And I don't want to look up from getting my head down and be like, oh my God, I missed it. Like my life happened. Like I didn't spend enough time with my kids or something like that. And so I think that having this motivational goal and then trying your best to enjoy all the process along the way. And then let's say that my goal's here, I started here, and like I feel like with the goal we were just talking about, I feel like I'm here. And like you could look at that as like failure, but I'm like, look at that. Like you suck down there. Like,
right. Yeah.
like look at, like I feel, like I've accomplished so much. And so I think it's trying to have this balance of like trying to be motivated and have a goal for yourself that fulfills you and gives you purpose, but like always look back and be like, man, I've come so far from back there, and I should have confidence in what I'm doing. And especially if you're enjoying the process. And that's something that I didn't used to do an awesome job, but I think that I am learning how to do a better job as I get older.
I think that's awesome. Well, and I see that for sure. I see that, and you're very intentional with it. And I try to give you credit where I can of like, yeah, you do a good job of, you got a lot on your plate, and you do a good job of handling your priorities of marriage, kids, business, athlete, and kind of in that order, And I think I don't know, it's something.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think
it's never gonna be perfect.
No, and I don't
it's
know
always got to strive. But
I don't know that it should be. If you ever get to a point where you think it's perfect, you should probably reevaluate your idea of perfection, because there's always ways to improve and stuff like that.
But like at the same time, my idea of perfection is if my wife is extremely happy in our marriage, and if our kids grow up to be like great members of society, and like love us and respect us, and then if we make a huge impact at the gym, and if I push myself as an athlete and enjoy the process, like that's perfection almost. But and that goes along with like having a goal, always striving to do better, but still being happy with where you're at. And that goes with the gym. Like I think we always do that. Is like we have these goals that we try to hit, and then it's like we get there. It's like we can always do better, but like we should be happy with what you've accomplished.
Yeah, it's okay to look in the rear view and be like, yeah, I'm proud of where we're at, but also keep the eyes forward of like, all right, this is where we're headed. So this whole podcast and this whole like break the stigma thing has started back several years ago with unfortunately with one of our members, Rawson, who lost his battle with mental health. And it kind of spiraled into this. Started off with a workout that you came up with in honor of Rawson, and then turned into a little bit bigger deal while we were in Norman, where it started off with one workout. Then we kind of went into these fundraisers where, that's kind of what people feel like they should do if they're trying to bring awareness. And then we moved out here to Colorado, and unfortunately, we lost another member out here, Tucker Oaks. Kind of the same, very similar situation as Rawson. And I think we both realized, like, damn, like, okay, this break the stigma thing. We're doing some stuff, but kind of going back to like having a goal, like what do we actually want out of this? We both looked at it and kind of said, you know what? We have 6 CODA gyms, and just with these 6 CODA gyms, we can make a huge impact on bringing awareness towards mental health. And so, with a foundation kind of built on Rawson's workout, we created this thing that we now call Break the Stigma. And we're kind of rolling with it, and we're trying to make it a bigger deal. And finally, the last couple of years, we've said, all right, hey, all of Coda is gonna lean into this, but Kevin and Casey, we're gonna kind of lead the charge on this whole deal and kind of make it a bigger deal and try to make a bigger impact. Now, um, can you give the listeners, because I know a lot of the people out here in Colorado kind of have a quick story about Rawson. Could you give like the whiteboard version of kind of
Sure.
like the Rawson workout to kind of like preface kind of what we got coming up next as it relates to like our challenges and stuff?
Yeah, so Rawson was one of our first members at Coda Norman. We opened in 2013 or 2000. I can't remember if it was 2014.
2013, because this will be 10 years.
2013, April 1st.
Yeah.
So he had started coming a few weeks after we opened. Great dude, super nice and generous to everybody that walks in the door. Tomcat has replaced that person of talking to everyone that walks in the door. But
That's a
Rawson,
compliment, Tomcat.
yeah, right, yeah, and Rawson was seriously that guy of like, if I was coaching a class and I couldn't go talk to like a new person, like he would go talk to him, and he loved CrossFit. He was a really good baseball player. I think he played, I can't remember if he played double A or triple A, but he made it pretty far in baseball, was a very successful athlete. But he had been a few years out of being an athlete. And he had talked a little bit with me and with other people about some of the mental health
Mhm.
struggles that he was going through, but I never really knew how bad it was. And I think I was optimistic because I was like, I was a former baseball player. I drank too much. Like I found this and like I found purpose in this. And I feel like he never quite found purpose
Mhm.
in where he was headed with his life. And I remember having conversations with him to try to maybe direct him towards that. And he was a buddy, but also I was trying to like almost be like, hey man, I'm further along in this process. Like let's, you can get better. You can stop drinking and you can do whatever you want with your life. And so we had always had a lot of long talks, and he would go on drinking binges where he wouldn't come to the gym. Then he would come to the gym for like 2 weeks straight, two
Mhm.
times a day, and he would crush it. And so I don't remember this specific date, but it's a lot of years ago now. But Rawson took his own life, and you know, we've shared this with some people before, but we were at an athlete camp in Texas, and we were staying in the same hotel room. Bryce was in we were all sharing a hotel room, and um, I think we were talking about this the other day. Yeah, I think you brought it up.
Mhm.
You're like, man, I haven't seen Rawson for like 2 weeks. Like, I don't know exactly what you said,
Yeah, it was
but
basically we had noticed that, like you said, Rawson would be in gym every single day, and then we wouldn't see him for a while,
yeah,
and it usually indicated that he was probably on some sort of bender
yeah,
or he's not in a good place. And yeah, and
yeah,
it kind of came up. I think we were talking about some of the topics that we talk about at the competitor camps, and we usually use Rawson as like an example of a certain type of
yeah,
athlete. And it was like, yeah, we haven't seen him in a while, and basically came back to like, man, unfortunately, these cycles that we've seen with Rawson of, he would fall off the wagon a little bit, then you get him back on, then he'd fall off. And I just straight up said, unfortunately, with my experience in law enforcement, like this is not going to end well for Rawson. Like
yeah.
well, the path he's on is, it's going to end up ultimately going to take his own life.
And I
And
remember that being new to me. Like you saying like, I've seen this before, and like this path, like it doesn't end well.
mhm,
And you had mentioned something. It was late on like Saturday night,
mhm,
and it was maybe, I don't know, at least 11 p.m. if not like 11:30 or something. And I was like, man, I'm worried about him. I'm gonna text him. So I texted him. I was like, hey man, I haven't seen you in a while. Like, love to see you. He used to do like my like individual training sometimes. So like it was just me and him doing like aerobic sessions in the morning sometimes. And he's like, yeah, I've been going through a tough time. I'll see you on Monday. Like I'll see you Monday morning.
mhm.
And then we found out you got a call just a few hours later.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, like literally like three or
Yeah,
4 hours
and I'm
later.
getting like goosebumps. Like even just
Yeah.
talking about this right now. It still affects me so much, and it was just, you know, a similar situation happened at Iron View. We didn't know Tucker quite as well, but in both situations, both times, I never quite realized what the person was going through,
Mhm.
and it also just like it didn't make sense to me because I was like, you know, Rawson has so many talents and he's like such a good dude, and like I think that he was hiding, you know, all the struggles that he was going through, and he would share with some people close to him, but still not to the depth of what he was going
Totally.
through. And definitely Tucker like,
Yeah.
you know, we weren't super close to him because we had just taken over the gym. We didn't know him outside of like a few times in classes for a few months, and but I never knew Tucker was going through a tough
Mhm.
time, and both times. And you know, I think that we've said this many times before, but it's like whenever you're going through a hard time, like reach out to somebody, and you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Casey, any of our coaches, any other member, reach out to a family member, but like sometimes just talking about it is super helpful and can, you know, help to alleviate, you know, your stress, but also, you know, just to be heard and understand that like so many people go through this type of stuff. And
Yeah, just getting through that moment of like helplessness for
yeah,
sure. Yeah. So with unfortunately, we've experienced a couple tragedies like that, and then I would say on a fortunate note, because of our experiences, all that we have gained some trust with a lot of the community, and exactly the message that you just said there. Like people take us up on that and they'll reach out,
yeah,
which is great. But we can always do better, and so over the years we've tried to make this break the stigma thing bigger and bigger, and try to kind of make it more of a purpose. And so we've talked a lot about purpose and fulfillment, and so we kind of build upon it. And so this year, in June, we're looking at the end of June right now as far as the official date, but we're gonna do something kind of cool. So
yeah.
we're gonna call it the Midnight March for Mental Health. So we're gonna actually march from Coda Ironview, and it's about 11-mile hike from Coda Ironview to the trailhead of Mount Sanitas. And then we're going to hike up Mount Sanitas as the sun rises. So we're calling it the Midnight March because we're going to start around midnight, and then we're going to hike the 11 miles, and then we're going to go up Sanitas, which is a pretty challenging trail, and we'll go up the steep side, and then we'll walk back down together and come back. And this is all in honor of mental health and trying to break the stigma. So if that's the case, what we're going to do this year is while you're hiking, you have two options. So we'll do it as a group. You have two options. So if you're somebody who's gone through mental health yourself or had some struggles, then you can think of somebody who's helped you get through that tough time, or somebody who's like mentored you through it, or maybe somebody that you've never had a contact with, but their story has motivated you to get through a tough time. So you're going to do it in honor of somebody, or you're going to, if like I'm super fortunate. I don't know of any time in my life where I've really hit rock bottom, where I felt like I was like in a really tough spot, which I'm super thankful for. But I know so many people who have. So I'm going to do it in honor of somebody who I know has gone through a tough time. And even though they've gone through that and maybe even lost their battle with mental health, still motivating for me and helps keep me on track and gives me a kind of a compass to, continue doing what we're doing with trying to break the stigma. So you're going to do it in honor of somebody. Now, this is going to be a pretty tough challenge for some folks. Some folks, it might be like the hardest thing they've ever done. And
Yeah.
so if you quit in this challenge, you're not quitting on yourself. You're quitting on this person who you've dedicated this challenge to. Now, it is going to be really tough. And so, you shouldn't go into this without, proper training
Yeah.
and expectations and things like that. But we are going to do it as a group. And so, as a group, we're going to not let you fail. But you're going to have to put in some work and have to, have some dedication there. So the Midnight March for Mental Health is going to be at the end of June. Stay tuned for some more details on that. But I'm super excited about it. I know it's going to be a tough challenge. And I'm hoping we can get a decent group of folks go do it. And who knows, maybe it'll be crazy and it'll be a huge
I could,
success.
yeah, I could see it. Yeah.
So it will
Yeah.
be super challenging. We're gonna get all the logistics figured out, but big March, yeah, end of June. Super pumped for it. So if you're interested in something like that, start thinking about who you want to do it in honor of. And I've got a couple people in mind, and I got a couple ideas that we might do for kind of like completing the challenge. As far as like, we've done patches in the past, but I think we might switch it up a little bit this time, and give a little bit more unique thing out. But yeah, so just kind of
Some
stay tuned for
pride.
that. Yeah,
Pride.
pride. Yeah, yeah. But we'll do it as a group.
Let's do something fun afterwards too. Maybe we'll like do some big brunch or something
Love it.
afterwards. Yeah.
Love
Or
it.
take a nap. One of the two or
Yeah,
both.
it'll be pretty tight. Yeah, we'll be pretty
Yeah.
tired. So yeah, stay tuned for that at end of June. and a good community event. Everybody's invited. So if you don't go to Coda, that's also fine. You should, but you don't have to go to Coda. Come out and join us. And Oklahoma gyms, you're also welcome out. So Kev, we could sit here for another 3 hours and talk.
That
and
went
so,
quicker than expected.
Yeah, I don't know exactly
This
how
is
long
probably
it was,
the longest
but
podcast.
it might be one of the longer
be.
ones. That's fine. I love it,
That's
man.
all right.
I wish, I wish we could dive even deeper into stuff. And but thank you for giving up your time today and coming in and talking. And thanks for being the 10th guest, which is super cool.
Woo.
And then thanks for all you do in the community at Coda, and for me personally, man, I really appreciate all the impact you've had on my life over the last 8 or 10 years.
Well,
man.
ditto, buddy. It'd be an awkward hug if we try to hug right now.
Well, good thing we can't. You know,
yeah,
I'm too short. Remember?
Yeah, there's a table in the middle, but
awesome, man. Anything else you want to say before we wrap it up?
I
got a question to wrap it up if you want to answer.
Sure.
Okay, so kind of like this. So you have a ton of life experience. You're married, you have 2 kids, you've ran 2 successful businesses. You've moved all over the country. You've played college ball. You've played high school ball. Like you're emo kid. You have a ton of life experience and a lot of success. And so with that, either if you were to look back and give your say 21-year-old self some advice, or if you're going to look me in the eye and give me advice moving forward, what would that be?
Gosh, oh man, I don't know. I think I would probably go back to the quote that I said earlier of, what feels easy in the moment is not fulfilling in the long term, but what feels difficult in the moment is very fulfilling in the long term. And I just lost that along the way some way. Like and I don't know if my life would have turned out differently if my younger self. I don't know if would want my life to turn out differently or anything, but I think that just knowing that and like truly believing that, I think would just help me enjoy life more and feel more fulfilled and just feel like proud of what I've done. Like when I talk about like some of the years where I was like really in a hole there and like down in the dumps, like I'm a little ashamed and like I was not proud of who I was at all. And so I think just I kind of like that I've been through some of that stuff because like I've lost my job. I broke up with a girl that now is my wife and we weren't even on speaking terms in a year and a half. When somebody tells me like, "Hey, I broke up with my girlfriend," I can be like, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Like you'll find. And then, I hated my job and then I made good money and still hated my job. And then I was able to quit my job and open a gym and do something I love. And so I don't think of myself as having a lot of life experience because there's so many things that I've not done. Like, I've never served in the military or served in like service or anything like that. And I've been able to have an enjoyable life that I haven't had some of these like crazy, you know, um, tragic things happen or anything like that. So I feel lucky with some of that, but just to, I think I would just be more happy and fulfilled if I had known to do the hard things.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. That's a great quote, and it's great that you've brought it up twice because it also shows that you're not just coming up with stuff like, oh, I need a cool quote to say on a podcast. It's like truly how you live it, and I think that's cool. I think that's also I would agree with that 100%. If I heard that at 18 or whatever, been like, okay, like you kind of grasp the concept, and you hear like, hey, you have to work hard and stuff like that, but like, I don't know.
There's just some people that learn that when they're still young.
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't learned it till I've gotten a little older, and I still feel like I still feel fit as ever and all that. But like part of me wonders like, oh, if I had put this brain into a 21-year-old body, like what could I accomplish athletically and some of that other. But I don't like thinking like that because I also feel like it's like I still feel great and I'm thankful and I want to keep pushing these different areas and aspects of life however I can. And I don't want to be like, oh, I'm just old now. My athletic career's over. I don't want to take that mindset.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. Well, thanks again for coming on, man. And we'll wrap
it up. Thanks for having me. Sorry we talked too long.
We didn't talk too long. We didn't talk long enough, man. All right, dude. Appreciate it.